What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing support. And thank you guys for showing love towards every single episode. This is the first time in Miami, and I have a huge guest with me. He has an incredible podcast, the Success Story Podcast. Scott Clary, thank you for coming on
Thank
the
you for
show.
having me, man. And welcome to Miami.
Yeah, there's been, I guess, before we get into it, I've definitely noticed a lot about Miami itself, and I feel like sometimes I have a pretty good intuition, and I can see things and just feel things, and I see a little bit deeper behind the meaning of it, or behind the lines, or just kind of reading people.
Yeah.
And ironically, as we'll get into it, success here is a lot different or portrayed differently than where I currently live in New York City, and just I feel like maybe in the world. But before we get into that, I do want to know, since your podcast is called The Success Story, what is your success story?
What is my success story? I think I'm still living my success story. It's never ending. It's never ending. I think that success, it's so funny because you say that the definition of success or what you see success to be in Miami is different than where you come from, like New York, right? But then even New York is not so different than how you measure and gauge success in various other parts of the world. I don't think that what you're alluding to, which is a lot of material success, is anybody's proper definition of success. Maybe it's some people's, but it's, I think, a fundamentally incorrect definition of success. What a correct definition of success, and I say correct meaning it's correct to me, it's correct to a lot of people that I respect, and I think that if you adopt this version and idea of what success is, which I'm going to tell you what I think it is in a second, I think it will lead you to a much happier and more fulfilled life, as opposed to a life which is just chasing material objects and always trying to get the nicer house, the nicer watch, the nicer car, like all these, just like only trying to build something to buy the next thing. I don't think that's success. Everybody who I've interviewed, and this is my definition as well, success is freedom, success is fulfillment, success is happiness, success is not just financial and wealth, but success is being spiritually and emotionally and mentally and physically whole, having great relationships. It is sort of checking the boxes across all areas of your life while simultaneously not having to do work or not really having to do anything that you don't want to do. So when you wake up in the morning, sort of all these boxes that I just mentioned, they're filled and you aren't doing things that you don't enjoy. That to me is true success. So you asked sort of what is my success story? My success story is constantly moving towards that. But it's not something that you ever achieve. It's very cliche, right? But you have to enjoy the journey. So you have to enjoy the journey towards always trying to push yourself in your business, always trying to push yourself to have better relationships, always trying to push yourself so that your mind and your body are strong, so that you're spiritually strong. Like these are core fundamental principles of success that I basically see in a variety of different ways in every single person that I interview and also in my own life. And I think that if you pursue success as sort of like this ideal, as opposed to a material thing, I think you'll end up living a much better, more fulfilled and happier life. And you won't have all these regrets when you're 70, 80, 90 years old, looking back and thinking, oh, all I cared about was making money. Oh, all I cared about was flexing on Instagram. Oh, all I cared about was X, Y, and Z, which is just tied to materialism. I was successful financially, but I also lived this complete life. And yeah, I mean, like my success story is, when you say that, you're asking about like, okay, how did I like make money? How did I build a podcast? How did I build an audience? For sure. But I just want to really make sure people are clear. I am very aggressive in my business, in the work that I do. But at the same time, I'm a big believer that the rest of your life can't go to shit just because you are building a great business or building influence or whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, so I mean, my success story is still being written every single day. No one will ever finish their success story, in my opinion. Right now, the version of success that I'm sort of getting after for my business is to build a very large media platform that helps people figure out their life, their business, basically all the things that I just mentioned. So the goal with what I put out into the world is to, with all my content, all the podcasts, all the interviews that I do, the goal is to make it so that people don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to figure shit out for themselves completely. I try and unpack the stories of incredible entrepreneurs and really just take the key lessons that have gotten them to where they are today and push those out across the podcast, across the newsletter, across everything I create. And it's very fulfilling. It's like a very fulfilling job for sure, but that's what I do.
Yeah.
So.
I think what's most important about that is that you have something that is purposeful, right? It's like when I say that, I'm saying that since the goalpost is always being pushed, it's always going to keep you inspired and you're always going to be living in purpose.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we don't have that goal or what we want it to be, it creates a sense of like, we just kind of feel stuck and we don't know where to go next.
Well, you can feel empty and depressed too.
Yeah.
And by the way, like if you look at most people that you would consider to be like quote unquote successful, they all have different crazy goals that they're getting after every single day. Like even Elon Musk. Elon Musk doesn't talk about spirituality or physical or mental health like I'm talking. I think it's very important, but he has goals to put like to make humanity basically like help them go live on Mars, and he wants to improve the world through a variety of other methods with like obviously with Tesla and electric cars, and he takes on these initiatives whether or not you agree with them that are way bigger than him. So I'm telling you what my goals are, which are way bigger than me, and he has his goals, which are way bigger than him. And everybody who I know that is successful and has built anything worth building has goals that are way bigger than they could ever, like way bigger than they can just sort of benefit from themselves. So just making a lot of money, that's not really a goal. That, like, for a lot of people who are just pursuing wealth and they want to build a business so they can just make money, you won't understand this until you experience it, but that's a very empty pursuit. Like if you just make money, very quickly you realize that your life has no meaning and you start to try and find meaning elsewhere. So I think that the one thing I can tell people if they're just getting started is if you do want to be successful, make a lot of money, find a bigger purpose than yourself to go after. And ironically, when you serve a lot of people, when you serve a purpose bigger than you end up making money in the meantime anyways.
Yeah. And it's so weird that we think that the cars and material things will bring us happiness. And we don't understand that it creates a deeper void within that.
Yeah, well, the reason why is because social media has completely screwed us up, right? Like like social media is very toxic, and especially you're talking about like Miami, where everyone's flexing like fake watches and rented Lambos and this fake lifestyle, and us sitting at home think that's real, and then we benchmark our own success against somebody who's living a fake life on social media, and we feel less than. So then we pursue these empty, like meaningless sort of objectives. And it's just very, very toxic. I don't know. I mean, I would hope that an audience that is truly focused on like, who listens to this kind of show, understands that all that stuff is just bullshit. Like none of that stuff means anything in your life. Like if you make a lot of money and you don't have great relationships, you could have sold your company, but your wife left you, your kids don't speak to you, you're way overweight, your health is gone. Like it's not a life worth living. And I don't think anybody would argue that it is. It's just that some people don't realize that till it's too late.
Now because I feel like was there a realization that you came to in this pursuit of success that made you realize that all these things that you thought would make you happy or you thought that would make you feel good didn't in the end?
Well, so I think I have a belief that if you want to build anything worth building, it's going to take a ridiculous amount of time to build that thing, more than you think it will take, right? So I have this rule, it's called like a 10-year rule. It's echoed with various other people who are sort of like these business gurus and influencers. But really, if you're going to start anything, set the expectation to commit 10 years of your life to that thing. So if you want to start a company, if you want to grow a podcast, if you want to do whatever, just commit 10 years of your life to that thing. When you set that expectation, and the reason why I believe that is because I've just seen it play out so many times. I've seen so many people that have stayed in the game for 10 plus years for an unreasonable amount of time become successful. Various degrees of successful, but ultimately more successful than most people could ever even understand. So if you set that 10-year time horizon, a couple things happen. First of all, you start to understand very quickly, like you start to set proper expectations as to how much work it's going to take to build the thing you want to build. You also set expectations about how to structure your life so you can achieve this thing. Meaning, if you're going to commit to this thing for 10 years, well, you don't quit your job if you only have 6 months of savings in your bank. You have to understand that maybe to build a business worth building, maybe you don't quit your job and go all in right away. Maybe you still work your 9 to 5 while building your side hustle, your business 5 to 9 on the weekends. But also what it makes you realize is that 10 years is a long enough time where if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're not gonna be able to stick with it. If you are just in it for the money, you will not have the energy and the motivation and the determination to stick with it for as much time as required for it to actually be successful. Meaning, if you do want to become successful, you have to actually enjoy the thing that you're doing to a degree. There has to be something there that you actually enjoy doing every single day, day in, day out. And it doesn't have to be like you enjoy all parts of it, because a lot of building a business sucks. Like a lot of building a business is tough, right? But there has to be some core component of it that you enjoy, that you feel like you're naturally gifted at doing. So if I'm building a podcast, I love doing the interviews. I love talking to people, love having great conversations. Do I love doing all my accounting? And do I love recording an ad 50 times when a brand's not happy with it? And do I love, I don't know, like having to fire somebody who has screwed up a video edit 25 times? Like, no, all that stuff sucks. I don't like any of it, but it's in pursuit of something that I actually enjoy. So I can maintain this thing until the day that I die because I love a core component of it so much. So I think that that's really what you have to focus on. You have to focus on, again, an objective or a goal bigger than yourself. You have to love a portion of it, not all of it, but you have to love a portion of it. And you have to understand that if you hate all of it and you are just in it to make money, I really do believe most people will burn out before they see the point where it's actually successful. Because listen, you can be motivated and say, hey, I'm going to make tons of money doing this particular. I'll give you a real example. At one point, I wanted to start some sort of like event business where I would put on events for entrepreneurs. I candidly hate putting on events. If I had people to help me, maybe it'd be different. But like running event logistics myself is a lot of stress. So getting all the speakers, getting, the caterer, getting everything all set up for one night's very stressful for me. It could be a great business. And I tried to start one once and I was motivated for like the first event and we made like a little bit of money. And I was motivated for the second event. Like 9 months in, it wasn't making a lot of money because again, no business really makes a ton of money in most cases year one. Usually you're still figuring your shit out unless you're incredibly lucky. So around 9 months in, it wasn't making a ton of money. It was a ton of headache. And I really hated what I was doing. So this is not for me. Now, if I had done it for 10 years, could I have figured out how to could I have figured out how to make an events company that puts on all these events for entrepreneurs? Yeah, I'm not an idiot. I could have figured it out, but I didn't want to figure it out. It was not my thing. So I think that this is why figuring out what you care about, what you're passionate about, is so important, and then pursuing that. That will ultimately lead you to be successful or not. So you asked me, was there a point when I realized that all the material things weren't really a priority? I wasn't even thinking in that frame of mind. I was just thinking, I don't care about all the material stuff. If I pursue something that I actually enjoy for a long enough period of time, the material stuff will come, but that can't be the primary goal. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, yeah, for two things, it sounds like number one, you just, I feel like you described the definition of what purpose is.
Yeah, fair.
And I think number two is that you are so content with this journey that it doesn't matter. You're not tracking where the end destination is, or when or how long it's going to take you to get there.
I don't give a shit. I really don't care how long it takes me to get there.
Yeah.
The other thing that I believe, that again, I believe because it's happened to me and it's happened to several of my other friends who have had massive amounts of success, is that I just mentioned, if you're going to start anything, commit to it for 10 years. And people will be like, well, that's a very long time. Like how, Scott, how can you say to me, you don't care how long it takes? And I say, well, listen, in life, you only have to be right once. You only have to figure it out once. But really, you only have to figure out something once, and you will have more money than you know what to do with. So if you want a podcast for 30 years. You will make more money than most people know what to do with. If you want to start a tech company, the tech company you start day one won't even be the tech company that you've built or software company that you've built when you look at it 20 years later. But you will make more money than most people know what to do with, because again, in life, you really only have to figure your shit out once. And if you figure it out once, meaning like, I want to be a podcaster, the podcast that I started now almost like 6 and a bit years ago, almost 7 years ago now, is not even the podcast that I have today. It's changed many times, but I will continue to do it, to change it, to iterate, to learn. And the podcast that I have maybe in another 5 or 10 years from now, maybe even more different than the way that I structure it today. But after 10, 15 years of learning, I can guarantee you that podcast will be doing exceptionally well. And it's not going to make me like a billionaire. Maybe there'll be more media billionaires in the future, like Mr. Beast. But still, it will make you more money than you know what to do with. So again, in pursuit of something that you're passionate about, you find a way to accumulate the material wealth if that's what you care about.
Yeah, and I think kind of like where my mind went to, I think about the adverse or the contrary of like, well, so what if somebody's listening to this and they're like, Scott, I've tried for 5 to 10 years and I've tried all of these things and I still haven't found my thing. What would be the piece of advice that you'd want to give to them, or the token that you'd want to give to them?
Well, the core thing is, you said, I've tried things. So you could have just been trying a whole bunch of things and quitting before they actually took off. I find it very hard to believe. And if somebody wants to push back on this, fine. I'm sure we can dive into edge cases and unique scenarios. But I find it very hard to believe that if somebody had one idea that they were passionate about, and they were a smart person, and they learned from their failures, and they asked a lot of questions, and they were highly curious, and they found mentors and people that could help them out, if they pursued that one thing for 10 years, they would not be some level of successful at it. I don't really have an example of that. I've interviewed, well, hundreds, if not, I think we haven't done 1,000 interviews, but we've done over 1,000 episodes on the podcast. But I've interviewed like hundreds of entrepreneurs. There is not a single case of somebody who built something for 10 to 15 years and then realized that it was not successful. I think that that's an anomaly. I think that most people don't stick with things for that long. I really, really don't believe that they stick with things for that long.
What has been as you've interviewed so many people, what has been has there been a trait that you've identified within successful people that if somebody else is going to be successful? Like, is there a trait of some individual that you can be like, 5 to 10 years, I know this person is going to be there?
Well, I named a few, but let's go through them. And there's a few that I didn't mention. So highly curious, somebody who is always asking questions, always trying to figure things out. Curiosity pairs well with something called an autodidact, which is a self-taught person. So you're not just curious, but you figure out the answer to your problem on your own. You just research, you YouTube, you podcast, you read, whatever. People that don't have an ego, Ego just destroys anything because you always think you're right. And to be an entrepreneur, like a definition of an entrepreneur is just being wrong repeatedly and learning from your mistakes. So if you have an ego, you're going to be wrong, but you won't learn. So you have to have zero ego. And then I think the last piece of it, which leads to you being able to do something for 10 years or 15 years, leads to you being able to build something that most people have never even thought of building before. You have to have a concept called, you have to be like a high agency person. Somebody that takes absolute responsibility over the good and the bad in their life and believes that whatever happens to them is a direct result of them. Not, there's another term that I like to use, it's a little bit more complex, but it's called locus of control. What a locus of control is, well, I'll explain. There's two types of locus of control. There's internal locus of control and there's external locus of control. An internal locus of control means that you believe that you happen to the world. Meaning, if something goes right, if I close a deal, if something goes wrong, if I get sued, it's all my fault, good or bad. Everything that happens to me is my fault, good and bad. The most successful entrepreneurs have an internal locus of control. The other way you describe internal locus of control is like a high agency person. External locus of control means that everything that happens in my life is because chance, luck, the world happened to me. I got sued. Oh, I'm having the worst week. It's just bad luck. I couldn't have seen that coming. Or I closed a deal. Well, I don't even like, that's great luck, but I don't believe I can replicate that result. Like, I just believe that everything that happens to me is outside of my control. Every single successful person believes that everything that happens to them, good or bad, is their fault. And that's just how they deal with it. Like, it's just, if it's good, great. I'm the one who caused that good thing to happen, so I can replicate that repeatedly. I can do more good shit. I can make more stuff work. Something bad happened. Okay, you know what? Even if it sucks and say it wasn't even my fault, I'm going to assume it's my fault. I'm going to take ownership over that bad thing, and I'm going to make sure it never happens again. It's like the difference between like victim mentality versus whatever, non-victim mentality. Like, it doesn't matter good or bad, you own that shit. And I think that all successful people, I don't like to just say entrepreneurs, all successful people that are successful in their relationships, okay? People that are successful in their job, their W-2, they get the promotions, they navigate corporate structure, they get the salary they want. People that are successful when they're building their business as entrepreneurs, people that are successful in all their other goals in life. They want to go lose weight. You have to be a high agency person. You have to take ownership over the good and the bad. If you want to lose weight, you got to go to the gym. You got to stop eating like shit. I know people that will eat like shit and be like, listen, I can't control my impulses, my cravings. If you wanted to, you'd figure it out. You go research. You go learn why you're hungry at certain times of the day. You go learn why some foods cause you to feel hungrier and some foods satiate you and blunt your appetite. You go figure it out because everything is within your control. So to just have a great life, you have to have complete ownership and responsibility for everything that happens to you. So you ask, like, what is like the X factor and whether or not somebody's going to be successful? It's that. When something bad happens, are they saying, you know what, it sucks, but I'm just going to take blame. I'm going to take fault. I'm going to figure it out so it doesn't happen again. Or are they saying, you know, the world sucks. I'm a victim. Bad luck. That person will never be successful.
Yeah, because I think it's so easier to put blame on everything else besides.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Because then if you put blame on something else, it feels good. Like, I don't have to. It wasn't me. It's almost like this short-term relief, right? You're saying, oh, well, this bad shit happened to me. I'm just a victim of the universe. What could I have done to prevent that? Like, it's like almost like you're 100% just like self-soothing yourself, but it doesn't benefit you long term. It doesn't make you think, how could I avoid this the next time? I'll give you, like, forget business. Like, what happens if you just keep getting like super toxic like girlfriends or boyfriends, right? There's a point where you have to be like, okay, yeah, maybe they did treat me like shit, but where do I meet these people? Why do I let these people into my life? Why do I not dump them after the first red flag? Like, there is a point where you got to take ownership for your shitty life. And I don't think enough people do that. So even if things go very wrong in your life, in relationship, in business, in whatever, I found that the best way to navigate that for me and for a lot of other very highly successful people that I know is to just say, it's my fault. I'm going to figure it out so it doesn't happen again. And that is a trait of a highly successful person.
Yeah, and they also too is like I know in relationship context is that when I studied psychology, a lot of them would blame it on like their childhood. This is how my parents were, and this is how I observed relationships growing up. And
Yeah.
I have no healthy model relationship.
But the worst part about that is it's true and it still doesn't fucking matter. That's what's so tough about it. Like early childhood trauma can screw you up. Examples of poor relationships can screw you up. Being born in a shitty neighborhood where you have no example of success or entrepreneurship, like statistically, will make you less likely to be an entrepreneur. Even if everything you're saying is 100% true, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. The world doesn't care. You still have to figure it out. So say you were born in the poorest neighborhood in the world. You have you have the right to say, I have a shitty set of circumstances, because you do have a shitty set of circumstances. But complaining about your circumstances will not get you the life that you want. You have to take ownership, you have to take agency, and you have to take action to get the life you want. Because no matter how shitty your circumstances are, and I know people will always hate on me for this idea, but that's fine. No matter how shitty your circumstances are, there's always someone who's had it worse than you, who's achieved more success than you've ever even thought possible. And of course, you can say that there's luck involved. I don't give a shit. The beautiful thing, especially in the US, obviously not every part of the world is as lucky and fortunate as we are, but the beautiful thing, especially in the US, is that even if you are born into the worst set of circumstances in the world, there is still a mechanism for you to achieve more success than you ever even dreamed of. Now, not every country in the world allows that opportunity, but especially for the audience who's listening in the US, you have that opportunity. So you can either complain or you can take advantage, even if your situation is shit. And I'm talking about extremes. But for the average person who did not have an immense amount of trauma growing up, and was kind of born into like a decent family, and they had a decent education and upbringing and whatnot, they still say their parents were both 9-to-5 W-2 workers, right? And they will still say, oh, entrepreneurship isn't for me. But if you want it, I'm telling you, even if you don't have that sort of influence around you, even if you feel like it's not for you and you don't have the skill set and you don't have the network around you that can support your entrepreneurial, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to build a business, if you want to build a podcast, I don't know what you want to do, but if you want to do any of this stuff, you can do it as long as you have the mindset of, it is my responsibility to figure out everything involved in this thing, and then you just take action and you stick with it for a long enough period of time, and then you will eventually become successful at that thing.
Yeah. It seems like you've cultivated this mindset. Was there anybody like growing up that's kind of instilled this way of thinking into you?
Multiple people. So it's not like it's one person. So I see people that have built massive companies that have come from really shitty situations. I don't want to name names of friends because I don't want to call them out, but I know some of their backstories, and some of them have sold companies for over 9 figures that came from like really, really impoverished, like really shit situations. Or there's people that were maybe not horrible upbringings, but immigrated to the US, didn't have a support system, didn't really have any money, and they just figure, like, you look hard enough, you'll find examples of these people everywhere. So it wasn't like in my life, it wasn't like there was one specific example. I just like to study people that have beat the odds. I love those stories. And if you study enough of those people, you start to see similarities between their stories. A lot of what we're talking about right now. Um, and I think that those are the stories that have to inspire you and motivate you. I think those are the lessons that you actually have to pay attention to, and the lives you have to learn from. Um, but everything that I speak about, it's not because I've seen one example of it. It's because I've seen like many examples of all of these ideas. Somebody sticking with something for 10 years and figuring it out. Somebody being highly curious. Somebody being a self-taught person, being a competitive and not being a competitive advantage. Somebody coming from nothing but just taking complete ownership over their own life and building something impressive. Like, it's not like one person. These are the traits of almost everybody who's successful.
I know in the pursuit of it, right? You've committed 10 years. You've used the example of committing 10 years to something. And I know within that time frame, as you've been going on 7 years now, the podcast, I know within that time frame, there's a lot of things that you probably sacrificed, or there's a lot of things that probably have costed you a failed relationship that you maybe either chose to go a different way, or maybe family haven't been able to understand, and you're kind of in this pursuit. Like, what has been the thing for you that success has costed you?
That's a great question. Well, I think that if we're talking about business success and you are aggressively pursuing anything, the majority of the people in your life won't understand what you're doing. It doesn't mean that you lose those relationships, but I think that even for me, I mean, I didn't come from like an entrepreneurial background. So I'm sure for a large period of my I'm 35 now, a large period of my adult life, as I moved farther away from what my parents understood to be like work, because they just worked 9 to 5, and I became more and more entrepreneurial, and I was trying to, I was working in startups. I was being a founder of companies. I'm the founder of my podcast. I'm building this media brand and this media company. I think it's pretty normal for parents to be super concerned about what you're doing and really try and make sure that you're not screwing over your own life. I think they're always well-meaning, but they're well-meaning because they are speaking from their life experience. So if they've never built anything like you have, they're of course asking like, are you sure this is the right move? Are you sure you want to quit the job and go all in on this thing? Are you sure you're going to be able to, support yourself financially? I think parents are always concerned. And I think that sometimes I'm very fortunate because my parents were always supportive, even though that I don't think they really understood 100% what I was getting myself into. Sometimes I don't even think I understood what I'm getting myself into. But you just have to understand that they never experienced, for somebody who's trying to be an entrepreneur, they never experienced that thing. So of course they're going to try and protect you, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily right. So you asked me, like, did it ruin relationships? It ruined relationships with people that I don't think were meant to be in my life in the first place. So let me explain what that means. It didn't ruin a relationship with my parents. My parents maybe didn't understand. They were concerned. I took their advice with a grain of salt, but they support everything I do. I'm sure at points have said, Scott, work less, or, maybe, are you sure you don't want to just get a job? It's way easier. Like all these conversations, right? But again, I believe in what I believe, and I was very passionate about building my podcast. I've done other stuff in the past, but that's sort of what I'm focused on right now. So I didn't really let their input sway me because I knew that they've never really gone through what I'm going through right now. So of course they mean well, but it's still my life and what I want to build, and I want to take a shot at it. And I have all these beliefs about what it takes to be successful. And if I live what I'm preaching, I have to I have to eat my own dog food, so to speak. But I also mentioned it ruined relationships with people that I don't think were meant to be in my life. What I mean by that is when I go all in on something. Of course, some friends don't get it why you're not going out every single weekend. Of course, like, I mean, my current girlfriend, Gina, she's been incredible because she's also very entrepreneurial. But there's been people that I've dated in the past that didn't really understand why it works so much. And I think it's a really important lesson because you have to understand that if you are going to build something, there will be a season of your life where your life is very unbalanced. Like if you're going to build anything meaningful, your life will be unbalanced. And I think you have to be okay with that. And I also think you have to be, say, around friends that understand and support that, as well as with a partner or a spouse or a girlfriend or boyfriend that understands and supports that. I don't think it's easy to date somebody who doesn't get what you're doing. I think that if you want to be entrepreneurial and you have the luxury of starting to date somebody, meaning like you're not trying to be entrepreneurial when you're 40 and have kids and whatnot, you'd have to set all these expectations, which you can still do. But if you are starting a new relationship, I think it's much easier if you find somebody that gets what you're doing, how much time you're going to commit to it, and wants that for you. I think that, I think also with friends, like you should have friends that are also very ambitious, very entrepreneurial, that understand the time and the energy that you're putting towards this thing. I think that when you try and hold on to people that don't get what you're doing, whether or not they're friends or a spouse, and you keep having to justify like sort of your life choices to them, I think those are very difficult relationships to maintain.
And I feel like you end up resenting them in the end, where it's like I sacrificed my life for this relationship, and the things that I wanted I didn't get to see out, or I didn't get to seek them out, and then it might create a more disconnect in the future.
It does create disconnect. I think that this is what, like, I mean, friends, listen, it's tough. You never want to like lose friends, but ultimately, I think that you don't have to be an asshole, but I think you are quite, again, cliche, the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So I think the people that are your friends should be people who challenge you, push you, understand what you're doing, are people that you can have conversations with about problems that are going on in your life so you can bounce ideas off each other. Your spouse should be that person too. Like you have to understand, if you're going to build a business and you want to be an entrepreneur, a season of your life will be unbalanced. A season of your life could be 10 years, could be 15 years. You'll be putting a ridiculous amount of energy and effort towards this thing that you want to build. So if you're going to start dating somebody, say you're not dating somebody, or say you're just starting to date somebody when you start building your business, like they have to be on board. Like you have to set expectations with who you are, what you want to build and what you want to accomplish, and how much of your life it's going to take, and what this means for all the other parts of your life. So if you want to have kids, well, I'm not going to be working. I'm going to be building a business as an example. So maybe we have to push back having kids. If the partner's not cool with that, then maybe that's not the right partner for you. But this is why communication, being super clear about what you're getting yourself into, understanding how much work it's going to take is so important. I think that the saddest thing is when people lie to themselves about what it will take to become an entrepreneur, to build a business, and they believe in I believe when you're first starting to build something that like the work-life balance, it's a complete lie. Like I don't know anybody when they're starting to build something who has a balanced life. So if you think your life is going to be balanced as an entrepreneur at the onset for the first few years, you're kidding yourself. And if you sell that lie to your partner, you are setting yourself up for breakup, divorce, or a really difficult couple years. So it's better to just understand how much work it's going to take and communicate that to your partner. I always bring a partner because I think that person can have the biggest positive or potentially negative effect on your life. The right alignment between you and your partner, spouse, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, like that can catapult your life, your career, your success, your business. But if you don't communicate what you're doing and it's just constant like fight, like why are you working so much? Why are you putting so much of your energy into this thing? Why can we not travel and you just want to put your money into your company? Like if these things are being discovered year 2, 3, 4, 5 because you do not properly communicate expectations, this is where the home life starts to really impact and hurt the business. Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying that if you do want to build something, you should understand what you're getting yourself into, and your partner should understand what you're getting yourself into. This is also why if you are going to become an entrepreneur at a later stage in life, where it's not so easy, you can't just break up or dump somebody. I would say that you have to be very, very careful. You have to be very careful about not setting unrealistic expectations for the growth of your company so you can preserve a healthy relationship as you build. It's a very hard thing to do. I think that for most people, it's once they start something, it's very easy to get addicted to it and to go all in, which is fine. It just means you're going to build quicker. But it's dangerous if you're married to somebody, have kids, and you think that your work will not become all consuming, because there's a very good chance that it will be. So just all I can say to that person who's like 40, 50, whatever, who wants to start a business, like, pace yourself and understand what it's going to take, and don't let it, and I would say, like, over communicate with your spouse what you're getting yourself into, and like, don't let it consume your life. Because I want you to be able to build while preserving a marriage. And for a lot of people that get into building a business, I think they become obsessed with it. So especially if it's working. Yeah. So don't let it, and be mindful of that. And for that person who is a little bit older, who's in a relationship, has a partner, doesn't want to lose that, be purposeful about blocking time to build that relationship, so that the work does not become all consuming. I'll give you a very real example of this. So Mark Randolph is a co-founder of Netflix. As he was obviously an older entrepreneur, and he had a wife when he was building Netflix. I'm sure he could have found shit to do 24/7, 365 when he was building that company. But he made sure every Tuesday night at 5:00 to stop working on Netflix, to shut off completely from the company, and to go on a date night with his wife. It didn't matter what fires were happening in the world, in Netflix world, with anything that was going on, he would make sure to commit time to date night with his wife. And that's how you preserve a relationship while you're building a company. Obviously, I'm sure it would have been easy to work every single day, Monday through Sunday, right? But if you are going to build while you're with somebody, like, be purposeful about setting time aside so that you do not basically destroy that relationship with your business, which is, again, that's not the point of anything.
Yeah. I know Alex Hormozi talks about it, obviously, with his relationship with Layla, how important that relationship has been towards his success. And he says all the time, like, if I didn't have Layla, I probably wouldn't be as successful, or it probably would have taken me longer, or things would have happened certainly different. In your life, how much has the relationship benefited towards your success and towards your personal growth?
So I mentioned that having somebody who's on board with what you're trying to accomplish is super important. So my person is Gina. So Gina, we've been together a little bit longer than I've actually been podcasting, but she has been like instrumental in my success for a variety of reasons. First of all, like what I just talked about, she understands how much energy and time I wanted to put towards my show when I started. So she was okay with me working like ridiculous hours and traveling for interviews and like, basically when I first was, I started my podcast like really just in, like, I think right before COVID, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because we got locked down in Toronto and whatnot. But I was putting like everything towards it, and I was still building a company at the same time. So it was like I was working like 24/7, 365. But she has her own company. She's also an entrepreneur. So she gets it. So there was never any like animosity. There was never any resentment. There was never any, why are you putting so much of your life towards this thing? It was like, she had her company she was building. I had my company I was building. And we were both doing it for us. We were both doing it for our future, right? But we understood that. So there was zero like tension in the relationship, even though we were both like working quite literally 24/7, 365, because we had the expectation that that's the life that we wanted. You know, we're putting a lot of effort now. We're front loading effort in life so that hopefully in the future We don't have to work as hard, and we can afford a great life for our parents, our kids, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one way that she obviously was a great partner, because if you every single day you're not only working and building, but you're arguing with your spouse about how many hours you're putting in or why you have to travel so much, like that's never going to be a good situation. Secondly, first of all, just having a household where like you don't fight is already huge. Like if you're like shutting off from work and then you're getting into fights with your partner at home, like there's no way you can have the same energy and intensity and focus as what you could have if you just had like a beautiful, loving household, like full stop. Like if you're always fighting, it's very difficult to show up 100%. And third, I think what a good partner does, especially in an entrepreneur context, when you're an entrepreneur, you are going to go through some crazy shit. Things aren't going to work out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you prep or how much you plan or how much you try and make sure everything works properly. Like there will always be things that don't work out. This is the nature of entrepreneurship. You will always have shit hitting the fan at some point. And especially when you are first starting out, your identity is very tied to your business. It's your baby. So when shit hits the fan, like it really messes with you. Like when a deal falls through or somebody quits, or it doesn't happen to me often, but God forbid somebody like sues you for whatever, like it can really weigh on you. It can really weigh heavily on you. And I think that when you don't have somebody in your life who's close to you, who you can confide in, who you can talk to about all the shit that's going down, I think that because you're so close to your business, it can really have a heavy toll on your mental health. But when you have a partner who is supportive, who understands what you're going through, who you can speak to about some of the most personal, intimate things about your business, and they can help you navigate through it. And sometimes they can even help you zoom out for a second and realize that whatever happened is actually not so bad. That is a huge, huge like hack. Because if you can get out of your own head, if you can elevate your mood, if you can be calm and focused, if you can have somebody just settle you down or chill you out or whatever it is that makes you less optimal than you would be if you were like a happy, functioning entrepreneur, if nothing went wrong. If you have somebody that can consistently do that, you are going to be a more effective person the next day. Like if you play out two scenarios, you get a bad email, employee quits, a deal falls through, you're angrier than hell, you're frustrated. Like all the decisions you make until you sort of level out and come back to your baseline, they're not going to be optimal. But if you do have somebody who helps you get back to baseline much quicker, you'll just be more effective quicker. So I think that having somebody at home who can help you overcome all the mental bullshit that comes with entrepreneurship is a huge hack. It's a huge bonus. If you don't have a partner, obviously you can have friends, mentors, advisors who can be there for you, but having that person who like knows you intimately, I think that helps an immense amount. So yeah, I would say the same thing as what Alex says. Gina has been that person for me. And it's not like I've had anything really bad happen, but when you're dealing with shit and it's your business and it's your baby, it just affects you more than it should. That's just life. And there's been 1,000,001 times when she's helped me just understand that whatever it is I'm going through is not so bad, and sort of help me get back to my baseline so I can be a more effective entrepreneur and be happier and just be, just generally less stressed out. And I think that is huge.
What do you think is the problem in relationships today? Like what do you think is the outlier thing, or maybe it could be a multitude of things that you believe relationships or marriages aren't really working nowadays?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. we can go deep into that one, but I think that I think a few things. I think first, the obvious answer is that people are always looking for the grass is greener on the other side. So social media exposes us to all these other people and all these other lives they're living. And social media is just as fake when it presents relationships and even sexual appeal as it does when it presents like wealth and success. Like social media is all just bullshit and smoke and mirrors and fake. So it's so funny how the same reason why somebody will want to leave their girlfriend or their wife and try and cheat on them with some girl on Instagram, same reason why somebody would quit their job and become an entrepreneur and think they're going to make $1 million in their first month because some guy with a Lambo said that they would. It's like we are always trying to chase the thing that we perceive as better. Even so, I think that that's what fucks up a lot of relationships. I think that fucks up a lot of people's lives. They just look on social media, see that someone else's life, fake life, seems to be better than theirs, and that's what they pursue. But that's why I find social media to be so toxic. It's sad because it can be used as such a great vehicle to educate and to improve people's lives. But I'm also I use it I put out like 40 to 50 pieces of content per day. Like I'm not like, not using social media. But I'm also very well aware that the same tool that helped me build my business and helped me educate, hopefully, a younger generation of entrepreneurs, and even not even younger, just people in general who want to improve their lives in a variety of ways. And hopefully some of the content I create can help them get there. It also creates all these issues with life satisfaction, job satisfaction, relationships, all of it.
I mean, it's connected us. So, I mean, that's obviously the great thing about social media. And I do believe that with every good, there is going to be a bad, and
100%.
The yin to the yang of.
Listen, I'm not like a relationship expert, but I think that, again, the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. In your relationship, in your business, in your life, like across the board, like focus on what you can control, focus on putting energy and effort towards the things that, like with your girlfriend, boyfriend, like put energy and effort towards them and watch how great your relationship gets. Like put energy and effort towards your job and watch how fast you get a promotion. These are not radical concepts, but it's very easy for people to there's a lot of money and research that goes into creating the most addictive content on social media. So for most people, I think they fall victim to that and they buy into the hype. That's mostly just bullshit. So yeah, like I think that if people shut off Instagram and shut off social and went on dates with their girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife, I think that would solve a lot of relationship issues. The issue in what I'm sort of talking about in general, not just relationships or job, but like all of it, is that in society today, we have unlimited perceived options. Like we have unlimited options. We have unlimited options of partners, unlimited options of jobs, unlimited options of career paths. We believe that we can just get everything and anything. So we are never content with what we have. If we think about our grandparents, right? If they were if my grandpa is dating my grandma, he's not exposed to this ridiculous world of all these other women 24/7, 365. Like he's not. So he puts energy and effort towards the person, his partner, his soulmate, right? And that creates a much happier relationship. But we have unlimited options across every area of our life, and humans are not good with unlimited options. When we have unlimited options, we cannot make choices and we are ultimately unhappy. So I'm not saying that you have to shut off social media, but I am saying that understand that unlimited options is hurting you. All the other options that aren't the things you have are not actually what they say they are. Every job, every business, every other person who you'd want to date, they all come with their own bullshit. So if you just focus on the options that you've already picked, assuming that the relationship is healthy, the job is good, the business is working, that's where you're going to see the most results.
There's a lot of gems in there, and for anybody listening, I think that's just the more is not always the best thing.
More
For
is
us.
never the best thing.
Yeah.
Like ever. So if you find a way to limit your options, you will be a much happier person. But this is the same as business. Like you mentioned earlier, you said like, say my friend tried a whole bunch of things over 15 years and he couldn't figure out which worked. I'm like, well, the issue is that he had a whole bunch of things. The issue is that he tried 25 different businesses over 15 years. Whereas if he reduced the options, laser focused on one over 15 years, that thing would be success. It's the same shit. It's the exact same shit. Anything you want to achieve in life, you will find a way to achieve it if you reduce all other options. Even if you want to, like, say you want to get healthier, you want to work out. You can't figure out if you want to, be a bodybuilder, lift weights, do CrossFit. I don't even think people do that as much anymore as they used to. Like, do all these different, and you want to figure out, okay, should I do like keto diet or paleo diet or like, like low fat diet or like Atkins or whatever other diet? Like, all of it works, by the way. Like, all of it will work to a degree. Like, if you just want to lose weight and you just want to be healthier, like all these different things will work to a degree. Just find the one that you enjoy that you can stick with. Find the partner that you enjoy that you can stick with for the rest of your life. Find the job that you enjoy that you can stick with so you can become a specialist in that field and you can climb the ranks and make a ridiculous amount of money in a company. Find the business that you just love and you can stick with. Like, that's the secret to life. Just, we are so inundated with choices that we have a really hard time doing that.
Yeah, and it seems so complex, but it's really simple in reality.
Life is simple. we humans are very good at complicating life. Humans are very good at complicating life. Most people who are struggling with, let's say, a relationship, struggling with a job, struggling with a business, most times we actually know what to do. Like, we're very smart. Humans are very smart creatures. Like, we usually know what to do. Like, if your relationship isn't going so well, you kind of know what you should do. If your business isn't going well, you kind of know what you should do. Usually it's an uncomfortable action that you have to take to get it to the next level or to remove it from your life. But we usually have the answer. We just don't want to take the action because it's a little bit uncomfortable. So we instead, we look for an excuse to not do the thing that we have to do in our life. If you want to lose weight, go to the gym. If you want to get married, date your spouse for the rest of your lives together. Like, focus on them. Like, put all your energy and love into them. If you want to build a business, same thing, also focus on it. Put all your energy and love into it. Like, it's really not complicated, but it's just a lot of hard work, and it's a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, and we just don't do it, which leads us to a life of sort of lying to ourselves about what we should or shouldn't do, not doing the thing that we should do, and then ultimately, on our deathbed 80, 90 years later, regretting our whole life because we didn't actually pursue the thing we wanted to do or build the thing we wanted to do or take the action we wanted to take, which is ultimately quite sad. But
and it's kind of why you've used the phrase "learn to suffer well." Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Life is suffering well. Everything in life. First of all, comfort is always a prison. Like, no life worth living is comfortable. And I think that everything in life worth doing will require some amount of suffering. So again, it is figuring out which suffering you want to take on. There's always going to be choice. There's always going to be things you have to give up in pursuit of the thing that you want to achieve. So if you want to achieve a marriage, you have to stop running around, going out, dating, clubbing, being, a belligerent person. If you want to build a business, well, you may have to give up some evenings and weekends. You may have to have tough conversations with people. You may have to learn skills that you would never have thought you would have had to have learned. If you want to go to the gym, there's going to be suffering there too. You're going to have to give up certain foods. You're going to have to wake your ass up at 6 a.m. if you have a busy day and get there so that it doesn't impact everything else. I mean, there's always an amount of suffering required for anything worth doing, but that's life. And the people that suffer well live the best lives, ironically. And the people that choose no suffering at all, the people that want to build a business but don't want to commit time to it, the people that keep saying they're going to lose weight, but they never go to the gym past, January 30th or whatever. The people say they want a relationship, but they keep cheating on their spouse. If they choose no suffering, then ultimately, the ultimate irony is that they suffer the most in the end, because they don't have the relationship they want, they don't have the body, they don't have the health that they want, they don't have the job or the business or the level of wealth that they want. They don't have anything they want because they chose not to suffer, which again is the worst outcome.
As this is the 1% podcast, and we want to grow within our daily lives every day, but also, as this has become something that has evolved over time, it's becoming true within ourselves and having these meaningful conversations. Is there something in your life currently that you are trying to let go of or unlearn?
Something that I'm trying to unlearn? Let me think of something. I'm trying to think of something specific I'm trying to unlearn right now. Like a really bad habit. One habit that I have that doesn't serve me well is sometimes jumping into things, projects, businesses that really serve me in the short term. They're good ideas, but they're not like great ideas. And this is something that, there's several quotes around, like, you have to say no to good to truly pursue great. And that's something I have a lot of trouble with, because I do get excited. Like, I'm a very entrepreneurial, ambitious person. So when somebody comes to me with an idea, I probably say yes to too many things. And I actually have gotten much better at saying no to a lot. And I think that the more I say no, the more the things that matter to me actually progress. So I think that saying no is an absolute superpower, and not just saying no to bad things. And like, there's different levels of no. So some people have a tough time saying no to bad things. Some people have a tough time saying no to meetings that don't serve them, or people that are going to waste your time. I think that more people have a tough time saying no to good things, but not great things. So I'm very good at saying no to bad things. I am less good at saying no to good, exciting things, but ultimately they are not aligned with where I want to be in 20 or 30 years. I've said yes over the past 5-6 years, even since I moved down to Miami, to several awesome projects with great people. And I had to reassess and kill those projects because, again, one of them being this event company. I was running events for entrepreneurs. It was cool. It was an awesome idea. It'd be a lot of fun. I get to host cool events, bring in a whole bunch of cool people, cool speakers. I could bring in some people from the podcast to speak and teach all these young entrepreneurs. So I temporarily said yes to that because it's not a bad idea. It's a good idea. It's a cool idea, but is it really what I want to create? Is it really where I want to be in 20 years hosting an events company? I don't even enjoy it myself, meaning I'd have to scale it to the point where I could hire people to run it, and I don't have expertise in it. And I think events are very important, but I don't know if I want to be the one putting on every single event. And I don't know if I want to commit 10 years of my life to building this thing. So even though I said yes initially, eventually turned into a no, I killed it. So I think that saying yes to good ideas, but not great ideas, is a problem that a lot of entrepreneurs have. And said differently, this is what shiny object syndrome is all about, right? You get all these cool ideas. A lot of people want to work with you. You say yes to all these joint ventures, and ultimately it's just distraction, right? If you took all that time, all those calls, all those meetings about this cool little side project and you just put it into your main thing, you'd be shocked at how much farther along your main thing has gotten. So I think that that's probably something that saying yes to good things is something that I'm trying to actively unlearn. And I think that is something everybody has to actively unlearn, because it just means like it creates space in your day to just focus on like the great thing.
Yeah, there's I definitely resonate with you deeply on that. There's a saying, I forgot where it was, but it's saying the quote or the perspective was, if you say yes to everything, you're saying no to yourself.
I like that. That's very good.
So everything that you're saying yes to that really is not deeply resonating with
Yes.
you or with your idea or with your mission or with your purpose or with who you want to be, you're essentially saying no to
who
you.
Yeah.
To who you are and to who you want to be. And it's like, if it's not a fuck yes, or if it's not an absolutely, why would I want to engage in this business idea or this relationship or whatever it is?
So that's what's so tough, because it's easy to say that. It's super easy to say that on a podcast, but it's like not so easy when you're like, oh, this could be super cool in the moment. But then you waste like 6 months of your life, like sort of trying to build this super cool thing that actually doesn't benefit you at all. Like I think most people have to have, myself included, like a much stricter filter for what gets into their life. I think that most good empathetic people are like just wired to say yes to things. And I think that the speed at which you are successful at your great thing, to your point, is directly proportional to your ability to say no to all these good things. But I think it's just a lesson that, even though we talk about it, people really don't get it. And it can just, like, again, if I spent, like the past 5 years doing nothing but podcasting, my podcast would be 50 or 100% bigger than it is right now. But I mess around with this project. I want to do this little company with this person over here. Like, so it just distracts you. And I think that we don't realize how important it is to have no distraction and to just be able to sit and be creative and apply that creativity, which can only be created through boredom, to your main thing. I don't think that people understand that even having to think about other stuff constantly, even if it doesn't take up that much time, it still takes away your creative energy from the main thing. So it's not just a time commitment. Like, more people would be successful with their main thing, their great thing, if they were bored and didn't have to think all the time about, there's something happening in my life 24/7, 365. Boredom is a good thing for an entrepreneur to have, to a degree. And I think that that's where I'm trying to get to now, where I'm saying no to a lot of good things to create the boredom to be creative for the main thing, which will ultimately make it the best version of itself, which will then, that's when that thing doesn't just become good, it becomes great, it becomes world class.
And I think to anybody listening, I mean, as I've been trying to implement this into my life, is I think saying no more, literally just saying no.
Yeah.
And when we don't often say no, we're saying yes to everything. It's like we haven't even practiced saying no.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's hard. Like, boundaries in general are quite hard for people.
Yeah.
Most people are people pleasers. So I think that, but you can practice by, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable saying no in real life, there's a variety of ways to manage other people's expectations and to set boundaries. But I mean, if it's a big issue for you, and you can't even send an email saying no to somebody who requests something from you, I would say that that's something that you should maybe even hire somebody to help you out with. Like hire an EA off Upwork for like $8 an hour, and their whole job, and you tell them what's a priority and what's not a priority, and make sure that they understand like who you are as a person and what you care about, and their whole job is to filter. Like, that's a hack that I don't think people realize. Like, if you can train your personality to say no to people, but it's difficult for some people. So like CEOs, most of my CEO friends that like are actively running large companies, they barely see their own inbox. they have very good people that they've hired around them to act as that filter. Now, not to say they couldn't do it themselves, but if you are saying no to people, if you are filtering all the negative, good and bad, like you're filtering all the negative requests, all the things that are going to waste your time, even just like negative, not even like requests, but just what am I thinking? Like if you're running a company, there's going to be shit that probably would throw you off mentally if you see it, lawsuit, whatever, just like bad shit. If you can place a filter in between you and that thing, and that filter is somebody who you trust, who knows like exactly like how you would respond to all these different requests, then it frees you up from that burden. I think it would make you it will make you more efficient, because again, you are not wasting your cognitive energy on all these different things that ultimately drain you.
A lot of gems in there. If everything that you've already built, or the companies that you've been a part of, if the podcast, if that's erased, and you wanted one philosophy or one way of thinking or one perspective that you could leave, what would that be?
Well, I would say that if I could only pick one thing that would be like sort of the most impactful thing, I'm trying to think of other things that I haven't already said. I'm sorry. Like, maybe we'll talk about enjoying the journey a little bit. Maybe that'll lead me some other ideas, but enjoying the journey is very important. Setting proper expectations. One thing that I touched on briefly, but we didn't really go into deep, is that even if you pursue your passion or you pursue something that you love doing, a large majority of that thing will still suck. I think that a lot of, that one line, suffer well, will get you through and allow you to build a life that you actually want. I think that's a beautiful philosophy. I think that when you come to peace with the idea that, again, everything that you want to achieve in life, every life worth living, is on the other side of some form of suffering, then I think it's very hard. It's very hard for you not to achieve what you'd like to achieve in life, because you understand what you have to go through. So I think that concept alone is one of the most important concepts, because if we think about all these sort of other concepts, like sticking with something for 10 years, or removing an ego, or being a curious person and researching and being self-taught, or even like having ownership over the good and the bad in your life, all of those ideas involve some amount of suffering. Like, all of those ideas involve some amount of not fun to achieve the end result. So I would say that that's probably one of the most important ideas, because if you realize that, not even in business, but in your relationship, in your health journey, like all of these things, there's going to be parts of it that are going to suck. And just because parts of it suck doesn't mean it's not meant for you. I think that is probably the most important idea. I think that everyone who I've ever spoken to and anything that I've achieved has been on the other side of something very, very difficult. Even like, I wrote a piece. I like bringing up relationships, because it means like it hits with a lot of people, because these are like sort of universally lived experiences. But when you want to be with somebody, we're all pretty familiar with the fact that infatuation, lust, like when you're first dating somebody, that sort of like wears out after a while. Now, after that wears out, the emotions are going to be there, but they're never going to be as intense as like year 20 dating somebody or married to somebody. It's never going to be as intense as like year 1. But a lot of people think that, well, it's not as intense, so this must be not the right person. Or something that, and keep in mind, like when you're first dating somebody, there's like a lot of chemicals that are making you fall in love with that person. And those are chemicals that are great to get you infatuated with somebody, but they're not the same chemicals in your body that keep you with that person for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Your body is acting different once you've been with somebody for a long period of time, hormonally and chemically. So you have to choose that person. The thing that you probably didn't pay attention to, that annoying habit when you were month 1, you thought they were so hot they could do no wrong, right? And that annoying habit month 1, well, all of a sudden, like that annoying habit, that really bugs you year 5. So you start to think, well, I don't know if this person's right for me. What if there's someone else out there, right? I hate this one particular thing about this person, so I'm going to go find someone else. And then you get infatuated with them and you lust over this new person. And then year 5, they also have an annoying habit. And you're stuck in this perpetual loop of, well, I never want to do the hard work. I never want to choose the person. I never want to put energy into the relationship. I always think that the second it gets hard, that must be a signal from the universe that it's not for me. So I go and find something else. Same with working out, right? You work out, it gets pretty hard. It's not easy month 1. And you're like, I don't know if I can do this for the next 30 years. Or I start a business, my motivation dies out. I'm not making a lot of money. I don't know if it's the right business for me. I've been looking at these idiots on Instagram. I feel like it should be easier for me to make money as an entrepreneur. So you never push through the hard period. You keep restarting. And I think that leads to this very unfulfilling life, very sad life full of a lot of regret, because everything that's meaningful, everything worth living for is on the other side of some form of suffering. So with a relationship, what do I mean by suffering? Well, suffering is not suffering. Suffering means choosing that person even when you had a fight, choosing that person even when they have one annoying quirk, choosing that person even when you had a shitty day at work and you don't feel like talking to anybody. You choose that person. That's a little bit of suffering, because it's not the easy option all the time, right? Choosing the business when it's not making money, that's a little bit of suffering too, because it's not the easy option. The easy option would be go back to work for somebody, get a steady paycheck. I don't have to stress anymore. So again, you suffer to a degree, but you suffer well. And then on the other side of that, your life is meaningful and your life is fulfilled and your life is everything you wanted it to be. But you have to go through this period. And a lot of people look at the tough part as a signal that they should move in the other direction or try something new, when it's actually the signal where they should lean in and figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's also because we don't trust what's happening in front of us. We don't trust God or the universe or whatever it is that people believe in. There's no maybe visible evidence, or there's no, when we have a conversation with just ourselves and we're talking to God or the universe, there's nothing there on the other side that's speaking to us back like, hey, you know what?
It will be okay. If I could just show you a crystal ball.
It will be okay. Everything will work out. Or in a month from now, like maybe tomorrow even, that your success is going to come. It's just because it's so silent and we don't really see what's going on behind the scenes or what's happening for us.
This is why a lot of these ideas work well together. So you're right. We don't have a crystal ball. But if we do the work, if we are trying to build a business, and if you are constantly upskilling yourself, and you're constantly learning, and you are constantly understanding why this didn't work and learning from that failure and making sure it didn't happen again, if that is how you operate, you have to trust the process. You have to trust the process that if that's how you are as an entrepreneur, it will eventually work out. You're doing all the right things. If you, if you're going to the gym and you're eating healthier and you get all the junk food out of your house because you want to create a good environment that supports your success. If you're going to the gym 3 days a week, Yeah, you're not going to look great compared to like January 30th, a month in. You're not going to look that different, excuse me. But you got to trust the process, right? You're doing all the shit you're supposed to do. So you got to trust the process, even if you can't see the end result. Know that it will eventually come. So I think that that's why people have to have trust in themselves too, which is another trait of a high agency person. It is trust in yourself. Yeah, if you don't do the work, if you don't trust the process, if you don't do the work, if you don't do the prep, if you don't do the thing properly, then yeah, it's never going to turn out the way you wanted it to. But if you put in the work, like your result will be the same as all the other people that you look up to.
After, we've been talking about all of these things and so many great things that you've achieved and so many people that you've spoken to, it's a little bit different than the question I've already asked you previously, but is there anything that you regret? Is there anything that you were like, I went right, but I should have went left? Is there
No.
anything that...
I don't. I'll tell you why. Because everything that's happened in my life has taught me something. So yeah, there's been a lot of shit that hasn't worked out. But if that thing hadn't happened, then I wouldn't have learned that lesson. So I can't say there's anything that I regret, because regret, it makes the assumption that first of all, it wasn't my fault. And I take complete ownership over everything good and bad that's happened in my life. Regret means like, oh, I wish this had worked out differently. Like, no, it worked out the way that it did because of like who I am, the actions that I took. Like I default to ownership over the result. And secondly, regret's a useless emotion. Like it doesn't benefit me to regret anything. That means I'm living in the past. So if I just say, well, I wish it didn't happen that way, like it doesn't fucking matter. Like none of it really matters. Like if you regret or don't regret, or if you're sad about it, or like it doesn't matter. Like you have to live anyways. So what are you going to do? Just wallow in your pity because of something didn't working out? Or you can say, okay, well, I'm going to take a positive spin on that. I'm going to say, because it happened, I learned, which is the case. I mean, everything that happens, good or bad in your life, is a lesson. And I'm going to do whatever I can to achieve the best possible outcome going forward, regardless of how things didn't work out in the past. I just take a different view of regret. I just don't think it serves me at all. I can't think of a single reason why it would benefit me to keep thinking about how I wish something happened in the past. I mean, you tell me if you believe differently, you can challenge me, but I just think that it doesn't do anything from where I'm going.
Yeah, no, I definitely have the same. I definitely have. I think if you're,
I could say something stupid like, I wish I bought Bitcoin in 2011 or some shit like that. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with my life right now. I have, great friends, great partner. I enjoy my work, and I'm not done. So if there's something that I haven't achieved that I want to achieve, okay, I'll figure it out. Like, nothing is permanent until you're dead. So if I've missed an opportunity, I don't really care, because I'll go figure it out another way. And like, there's been stuff that's like, I don't want to sound like naive. Like, there's stuff that hasn't worked out for me for sure, but I just don't give a shit. Like, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I just want to focus on the future, but I think it's a much healthier attitude than to focus and live in the past on all the stuff that's ever gone wrong.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of like, with the things that you wanted out of life, you've done. And I think only regret lives out of this mindset of like, where I should have done it and I didn't do it. And you've always, it seems, from speaking with you and just knowing you briefly, you've done everything that you've set out to do, and you went after it. Then there was no second guesses about it.
And like, but it's important for people to know, just because I get after it and go after this thing doesn't mean that like it pays or it's like it's worked 100% of the time. I mean, like, you can look at like Jeff Bezos's regret minimization framework, where he talks about it's sort of like a decision tree that he has for every single decision he makes in his life. Am I going to regret not doing this when I'm 80 or 90 on my deathbed? If yes, then do it. You can look at these hospice or palliative care nurses that speak to people who are dying and regrets 100% of the, I'm not making this data up. You can go look up Jeff Bezos' regret minimization framework. You can go look up case studies of these palliative care nurses that speak to people that are on their deathbeds. Regret 100% of the time is about things that they didn't do, not the things they did. So even if the outcome is less than ideal, if you are still alive on this earth, you can find a way to recover, come back, try something different, do it differently. And I think that, again, I just don't want to be on my death. I think that's when you will have regrets. Not now, but when you're at a time, because then you're like, well, I don't have an option to redo or to try something different or to do something that I was too scared to do when I was younger. Like, that's it. You're done. That's when you'll have regrets. Not now, though.
There's one last question that I have for you, and I saw it on. I'm sure that you're familiar with the Diary of CEO Stephen Bartlett, and he asked Jordan Peterson this one question that I've always wanted to ask people, and I have asked some, and it's, what is the perfect question that I could ask you?
Damn, these are very good questions. I'm gonna have to steal some from my podcast. Where do you get the confidence to pursue anything you think you could ever pursue? And the reason why I think that's a good question is because I think the confidence to take audacious risk or to take sort of their life of people's lives into their own hands, I think confidence holds a lot of people back. I've thought about this a lot because, like, leaving a job, starting a company, it's so normal. Like, it's so normal in my world where everybody who I interview is like an entrepreneur, but it's like very not normal. Like, it's incredibly, well, this could be a rabbit hole. I actually think that being an entrepreneur in some cases is actually less risky than working a 9-to-5. Because I think if we define entrepreneurship as, like, you understand what you're good at, you understand how to turn it into a product or service and then sell it to the market, I think that you don't have to aspire to be a Mark Zuckerberg or an Elon Musk. You can just sell something you're good at, and you can turn that into a pretty decent business without much risk. And also, if you learn how to productize your skill set, you will become such a proficient person and upskilled person that you could go get a job anywhere. If you want to, I mean, like, if you spent your whole career being an accountant and you go on Upwork or TopTal, or you start doing like freelance accounting, like, you're going to learn so many different skill sets that if it really doesn't work out, or you just don't like the headache of being an entrepreneur, go get a job. You're very employable. So I actually think that being an entrepreneur is not high risk, but I think it's perceived as high risk. And I think that leads to a lot of people not having the confidence to pursue the thing they want to pursue. So how do I manage to have the confidence? I look at all the time. I think that most people, when they look back at their life, the things that stand out are all the things that didn't go right. And that's actually very natural. Like, our brain is wired to remember all the negative. So if, again, you get dumped, an employee quits, you lose a deal, like, those things like imprint in your brain. That's a survival mechanism thing, why we remember those things. Because historically, if there was a really negative event in our life, your brain doesn't want it to forget it, because that could be the end of you. But in modern day, we're just very good at remembering the traumatic and the negative, which is why all these, every single news outlet in the world uses like these super hyperbolous, negative, catastrophic headlines, because we pay attention to it, we remember it, right? Remember the negative. So when you look back in your career, most of what you remember is negative. You remember the worst things that happened to you quite easily. You generally forget, or it takes a little bit more effort to remember all the positive things that have happened. And most of our lives, for the majority of us in our career, has been mostly positive. Like you get the job, you make money, you get the promotion, you close the deal, you kill it at the project. Like most of our life is positive. Very few times do we actually royally screw up, right? But remember all the negative stuff. Remember the one time we got fired in the past 20 years, even though for 19 years we did exceptional work and killed it in every company we ever worked at, right? So I think that the reason why I have confidence is I actively try and remember all the things that I've been successful at, and I let that be my frame of reference for will the next thing be successful. So most of your life, most of my life, everything that we've attempted, we've been successful at. It's a ridiculous ratio. The majority of us have not failed more than succeeded, but we remember the failures. But if you actually remember how many times you succeeded at taking a risk in your company, just in anything, you'll realize that the ratio is like every time you take a risk, every time you apply for a job, yeah, you're not going to get the first time, but like you want a new job, you want to get paid more. You take a risk by, sending your resume to 500 people and quitting your current job, and eventually you do get paid more. That's a risk. That's a shot. That's a chance. You took it. You succeeded. If you remember how many times you win because you are a smart, successful person who can figure shit out, like most of us are, it will give you the confidence to take even bigger risk. And then when you take that bigger risk and things work out, you can take even bigger risk and you can move on to the next thing. You can move on to the next thing. So I don't care how you do it. You could write your wins in like a notepad on your iPhone. You could journal if you want to. Just keep track of all the good shit that happens in your life and pay attention to it. And you will realize that when you take a chance, there is an objectively higher chance of that thing working out than not. That gives you a little bit of the confidence that you need to take the next chance and take the next one. And I think that's really all that confidence is. It's just understanding that most of your life has been wins, and then applying that sort of positive view of risk to your next thing. And I think that when you realize how successful you have been, your risk tolerance goes way up. But again, this is not how most people default to thinking. So I would say that that's probably an also very useful mindset that people can adopt.
Yeah. I lied. I have one last question.
Yeah, for sure.
If today was the last day that you were here on Earth, God forbid, knock on wood, something.
That's definitely not wood.
What would you want your monologue to be?
Monologue is in like, I'm saying this before I'm offed, or like somebody's like writing an obituary after I kick it. Like
no, like the last thought, or the first one.
The first one where I'm looking back at my life. I am thinking, okay,
It's slightly different than the philosophy question, but I think it's still something that
I would say. I hope. No, I'll say it wouldn't be I hope, because this is what I would want me to be able to say when I'm on my last sort of last breath. I have done what I've wanted to do. I've taken all the chances and risks that I've wanted to take. I have been a good, loving, caring person. I've provided as much as I possibly can for the people around me in my life. I've cared and supported. And everything that I've done in my life has been in service to other people, hopefully making their life a little bit less confusing and a little bit easier. And if I can say that, I really hope to God I can. I think I will be content with my life.
That's a great way to end it off. Scott, I want to say thank you for choosing this platform, as I just,
thank you for
had
having me
100
on.
episodes.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And as I'm still growing, and still early on in my journey, I want to say, just thank you for coming on here and being a part of the show and being a part of this journey. No pun intended. Um, but I truly am grateful. I really did learn a lot, and I know the people on the other end will as well.
Thank you.
Um, and to many more episodes between us in the future.
I'm down. You let me know when you're back in Miami, and I really do appreciate you for bringing me on, because I think that you're creating a lot of content that's similar to my content. You're creating content that, you may not, people that listen to this may not resonate with everything, or they may not even, I don't even know how long we've been recording, listen to the whole thing. But the goal with content like this is so that one person somewhere in the world listens to like a sentence or a line, and it just radically shifts how they see the world, and it just allows them to live like a better, happier, more fulfilled life. I think that in the world that we're in, of course, we're surrounded by such great people, which is a blessing, but there's so much negativity, and there's so much anger and hate. And I'm talking a ton of shit about social media, and I think it's justified too. But when you can like spend an hour, hour and a half, whatever, listening to content like what you put out, I really do hope that it can make like at least one person's life a little bit better and a little bit easier, and like that's the goal.
Scott, thank you again.